"You ungrateful brat." My father's voice boomed across our backyard as my graduation party turned into a nightmare. "Your sister needs that inheritance more than you do. She has dreams, ambitions. My name is Emma Sullivan, and at 22, I watched my father burn my hard-earned engineering diploma while my mother nodded approvingly and my sister Amanda smirked from behind them. The flames consumed 4 years of sleepless nights, perfect grades, and relentless determination. "I worked for this," I said, my voice steadier than I felt. "Grandpa left that money to me for a reason." "Your sister's art gallery won't fund itself," Mom chimed in, as if Amanda's latest whims somehow outweighed my grandfather's final wishes. "You already have a job lined up. You don't need the inheritance." I looked around at our gathered family members, most avoiding eye contact, some recording the drama on their phones. Only my grandfather's sister, Aunt Margaret, met my gaze with a knowing look. The irony wasn't lost on me. While I'd spent 4 years earning my degree, maintaining a 4.0 GPA, and securing a position at a prestigious engineering firm, Amanda had bounced between 5 different passions. Art gallery owner was just her latest dream, right after failed attempts at becoming a yoga instructor, social media influencer, professional organizer, and lifestyle coach. "The inheritance is mine," I stated firmly. "Grandpa specifically left it to me in his will." Dad stepped closer, the ashes of my diploma scattered at his feet. "We're your parents. We know what's best. Sign the papers transferring the inheritance to Amanda, or you're no longer part of this family." I thought about my grandfather's last words to me, spoken in the quiet of his hospital room 3 months ago. "Stay sharp, little fox," he'd said, using his old nickname for me. "Watch everything carefully. You'll know when to strike." At the time, I hadn't understood what he meant. Now, watching my father's face turn purple with rage, my mother's practiced look of disappointment, and Amanda's poorly concealed greed, it all made sense. "No," I said simply. The slap came fast, my father's hand connecting with my cheek before anyone could react. The party guests gasped. Someone dropped a glass. My mother covered her mouth in fake shock while Amanda's smirk grew wider. "Then get out," Dad spat. "You're no daughter of mine." I touched my stinging cheek, then smiled. They all stepped back, unsettled by my calm reaction. "Okay," I said, turning to leave. "See you at the lawyer's office next week." "What lawyer's office?" Amanda's voice cracked slightly, her smirk faltering. I didn't answer, just walked away as my father shouted threats behind me. Aunt Margaret caught up with me at my car. "You knew this would happen," she said, not a question, but a statement. I nodded, opening my car door. "Grandpa warned me. Said they'd show their true colors once the inheritance deadline got close." She smiled, patting my arm. "George always said you were the sharp one. Did you get everything documented?" I gestured to my cousin Michael, who was walking toward us holding his phone. "Got it all on video," he confirmed. "The threats, the diploma burning, the slap. Everything." "Good," Aunt Margaret said. "They have no idea what's coming, do they?" I started my car, thinking about the meeting scheduled for next week. About the real will, the one my parents hadn't seen yet. About my grandfather's careful planning and the lessons he taught me about patience and timing. "No," I replied, "they don't." That night, I stayed in Aunt Margaret's house, my phone buzzing constantly with messages from relatives. Some condemned my selfishness. Others expressed shock at my father's behavior. Amanda sent a series of taunting texts about how she'd redecorate my childhood bedroom once I was gone. I ignored them all, instead reviewing the documents my grandfather had left with his lawyer. The inheritance wasn't just money, it was controlling interest in the family company, the house my parents lived in, and several other properties. My parents had only seen the preliminary will, the one that mentioned a simple trust fund. They had no idea that my grandfather, tired of watching them favor Amanda while dismissing my achievements, had spent his final years restructuring everything. Sometimes, he told me, people need to lose everything to appreciate what they had. As I prepared for bed, Aunt Margaret brought me some tea. "Your grandfather would be proud," she said. "He always said you had his spirit, the patience to wait for the right moment." I thought about the family meeting scheduled for next week, where the full will would be read, about my father's face when he realized what his actions today had cost him, about my mother's practiced disappointment crumbling when she learned that her comfortable lifestyle depended entirely on my goodwill. Mostly I thought about Amanda, who had spent years watching our parents undermine and dismiss me, believing she would always come out on top. The right moment, I agreed, sipping my tea. That's exactly what Grandpa taught me to wait for. The week before the family meeting crawled by in a blur of angry calls and manipulative texts. My father's threats escalated from disarmament to legal action, though he never specified what laws I'd broken by refusing to give away my inheritance. My mother alternated between guilt trips and promises, suggesting we could compromise by me giving Amanda just 80% of everything. Amanda, predictably, had already started advertising her upcoming art gallery on social media, complete with photos of the building she planned to acquire with her inheritance. The building that, ironically, was one of the properties Grandpa had left to me. The morning of the meeting, I arrived early at the law offices of Matthews and Associates. Mr. Matthews, my grandfather's lawyer for 30 years, greeted me with a knowing smile. "Everything's prepared," he said, patting a thick folder on his desk. "Your grandfather would have loved this moment. He always said revenge is best served with paperwork." I smiled, remembering Grandpa's lessons about patience and documentation. "Are the security cameras installed?" "Both in here and the lobby," he confirmed. "Given your father's recent behavior, we thought it best to have everything recorded." My family arrived in waves. First came the curious cousins and distant relatives, then Aunt Margaret and Uncle Paul, who gave me supportive nods. Finally, my parents swept in, Amanda trailing behind them like a smug shadow. "This is unnecessary," my father announced to the room. "We can handle family matters privately. Like you handled things at Emma's graduation party." Aunt Margaret's voice cut through the tension. Several relatives shifted uncomfortably, no doubt remembering the viral videos of my father's outburst. Mr. Matthews cleared his throat. "Shall we begin?" My father tried to object, but the lawyer had already started reading. The first few items were standard, small bequests to various relatives, donations to charities. Then came the part they'd been waiting for. Regarding the primary estate, including Sullivan Manufacturing, all associated properties, and liquid assets, Mr. Matthews paused, looking directly at my parents. George Sullivan left detailed instructions about their distribution. My mother straightened in her chair. Amanda pulled out her phone, probably ready to post about her windfall. My father smiled smugly. "The entire estate," Mr. Matthews continued, "is left to Emma Sullivan, with specific conditions regarding its management and distribution." The room went silent. Then everything exploded. "This is impossible," my father shouted, jumping to his feet. "We saw the will months ago. It was just a trust fund." "That was a preliminary document," Mr. Matthews explained calmly. "This is the final version, properly witnessed and notarized 3 months before Mr. Sullivan's death." Amanda's phone clattered to the floor. "But my gallery." "Furthermore," the lawyer continued, raising his voice slightly, "the current residence occupied by Thomas and Diana Sullivan is included in this estate. The occupants have 30 days to either purchase the property at market value or vacate." My mother's practiced composure cracked. "Vacate? But that's our home." "Actually," I spoke for the first time, "it's my home. Grandpa left it to me, along with everything else you tried to bully me into giving away." "You planned this," my father snarled, taking a threatening step toward me. "You manipulated your grandfather." "Mr. Sullivan," Mr. Matthews interrupted sharply, "I remind you that this meeting is being recorded, and given your recent documented history of violence toward your daughter, any aggressive moves will have consequences." My father froze, finally noticing the security cameras. Additionally, the lawyer continued, "Mr. Sullivan left a video message explaining his decisions. Shall we watch it?" Before anyone could respond, my grandfather's face appeared on the conference room screen. He looked tired but determined, his familiar sharp eyes staring directly into the camera. "If you're watching this," he began, "then Emma has finally stood up to you all, just as I taught her to. I've watched for years as you dismissed her achievements, belittled her efforts, and favored Amanda despite her lack of direction or responsibility." Amanda started to protest, but Aunt Margaret shushed her. "I built this company from nothing," Grandpa's recording continued. "I know the value of hard work, dedication, and patience. Emma has all these qualities. She also has something else, the wisdom to wait for the right moment to show her strength. That's why she gets everything, not because she's my favorite, but because she's earned it." My mother was crying now, whether from genuine emotion or practiced manipulation. I couldn't tell. My father had slumped in his chair, his face ashen. Amanda just stared at her fallen phone, her dreams of an easy payday crumbling around her. There's more, Mr. Mackey said as the video ended. Shall we continue? I nodded, thinking about Grandpa's words about patience and timing. The real surprise was still to come, the part where they'd learn exactly what kind of leader I planned to be. Yes, I said, pulling out my own folder of documents. Let's talk about the future of Sullivan Manufacturing. I have some changes in mind. The room felt charged with tension as I opened my folder. Inside were the plans I'd spent months developing, guided by Grandpa's mentorship during his final days. Sullivan Manufacturing needs restructuring, I announced. My engineering degree might be ashes, but my knowledge wasn't. Our technology is outdated, our processes inefficient, and our employee satisfaction is at an all-time low. You can't just walk in and change everything. My father exploded. I've run this company for 20 years. Into the ground, I replied calmly, sliding quarterly reports across the table. We've lost market share every year for the past 5 years. Employee turnover is at 60%. 3 major clients have already given notice they won't renew their contracts. Aunt Margaret picked up one of the reports, nodding slowly. George tried to tell you this, Thomas. You wouldn't listen. The first change, I continued, involves the executive board. Effective immediately, I'm appointing new directors with actual industry experience, not just family connections. My father's face reddened. He'd packed the board with golf buddies and Amanda's ex-boyfriends for years. Second, we're implementing the employee profit-sharing program Grandpa designed before you shelved it. Every worker gets a stake in our success. You'll bankrupt us, my mother cried, but Mr. Matthews was already distributing the financial projections. Actually, he interjected, these plans could double our profitability within 18 months. I turned to Amanda, who hadn't spoken since the initial shock. You wanted an art gallery. Fine. The company's starting an art therapy program for employees and their families. You can run it if you complete a proper business plan and get relevant certifications. For the first time in her life, Amanda looked at me with something other than contempt. You're giving me a chance. I'm giving you an opportunity to earn something, I corrected. That's more than you gave me. My father stood up again, but this time his anger had a desperate edge. You can't do this. I won't let you destroy my legacy. Your legacy? I laughed softly. Dad, look around. You're sitting in a dying company, in an office you don't own anymore, threatening the person who controls your future. What exactly is your legacy? The truth finally seemed to hit him. He sank back into his chair, decades of arrogance crumbling under the weight of reality. Now, I said, pulling out one final document, let's discuss your roles moving forward. My mother perked up, probably expecting a generous settlement. Instead, I handed them each a contract. You can stay with the company under my leadership, starting in entry-level positions. Learn the business from the ground up, like Grandpa did. Like I did during summer internships while Amanda was traveling through Europe on your dime. Entry-level, my mother whispered, horrified. But our lifestyle will need adjustment, I finished. The company mansion needs to be sold to fund the modernization project. You have 3 options. Take the jobs I'm offering, buy the house at market value, or start packing. The silence that followed was deafening. Around the table, relatives watched with varying degrees of shock and satisfaction. Aunt Margaret didn't bother hiding her smile. I'll do it, Amanda suddenly said. Everyone turned to stare at her. The art therapy program. I'll get the certifications, make a business plan. I want to earn it. I nodded, seeing a glimmer of something new in my sister's eyes. Maybe understanding, maybe respect, or maybe just the first real motivation she'd ever shown. Time to decide, I announced, standing up. You have until the end of the week. After that, the positions go to qualify outside candidates. As people filed out of the conference room, Aunt Margaret stayed behind. Your grandfather would be proud, she said, hugging me. You showed them mercy without weakness. He taught me well, I replied. Sometimes the best revenge isn't destruction. It's giving people a chance to face their own failures and grow from them. 3 months later, Sullivan Manufacturing was transforming. My father, swallowing his pride, took the offered position in quality control. He discovered he actually enjoyed working with his hands again, like when he first started under Grandpa. My mother declined employment but found a smaller house within her new budget. She's learning to live without household staff, which Aunt Margaret calls character building. Amanda surprised everyone. She completed her business certification in record time, submitted a detailed proposal for the art therapy program, and now works harder than she ever has. Last week, she actually thanked me for not giving her the easy way out. The company is thriving. Employee morale has soared since implementing the profit-sharing program. Our technological upgrades have attracted new clients, and our stock price has jumped 30%. Sometimes, during quiet moments in what used to be my father's office, I look at the photo of Grandpa on my desk. "Stay sharp, little fox," he'd said. He taught me that true leadership isn't about power or control. It's about vision, patience, and the wisdom to know when to strike and when to show mercy. I kept the diploma ashes in a small box on my shelf, not as a reminder of that day's pain, but as a symbol of how destruction can lead to rebirth. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even. It's about building something better from the ashes of what was lost.